Welcome to the Unshakable Growth. I'm Esti, and let's get started. Welcome to the Unshakable Growth podcast, where we explore and embrace the growth journey of various guest speakers. Today, we are honored to be joined by Josephine, the inspiring author behind the Amazon #1 bestseller, Heal by Josephine. As a renowned homeopath and the founding director of Heal, Josephine has dedicated her life to transformative power of homeopathy, a journey deeply rooted in her personal experience with profound loss. Following the stillbirth of her first child, Josephine discovered the healing potential of homeopathic medicine and has since made it her mission to share this approach with others. Get ready for an inspiring conversation about finding strength in adversity and the journey of healing. Welcome, Josephine. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you, Esti. Nice to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said yes to come into my podcast session. It was amazing to have you here.
Yeah, it's so nice to see you again.
Yeah. As I mentioned just now, you were working on homeopathy.
Yes.
So I just want to start with my first question for our audience to get a better context on what is homeopathy.
Sure. Homeopathy is a system of medicine. It's an energetic medicine, and it comes from nature, predominantly from plants, animals, and minerals. And as we know, those substances can be toxic, right? So if you're looking at opium, for example, from a plant, that's toxic in its crude form, or snake venom from an animal. So homeopathy gets the crude substance, dilutes it of its toxic effect, and renders it useless, basically. And then it is succussed. And a succussion is like your mortar and pestle when you're mixing your basil. That's a succussion. And the succussion raises its energy, and that is what is said to affect the cure.
And that will be the natural process of the homeopathy.
Correct. That's
Yeah.
the natural process of creating a homeopathic substance from nature.
Okay, that's interesting to know. And so, because what I know that because previously you did share with me that you started homeopathy journey because of your profound loss of having a stillbirth of your first child.
Yes.
Can you share with us a little bit on what was the defining moment and how was the process looking like back then?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Nothing made sense anymore. I was feeling quite unwell physically, mentally, emotionally, and so I tried the conventional medicine route, and it didn't work for me. So a friend of mine suggested homeopathy, so I went to have a session, and I got so interested in it that I eventually went to the college and poked my head around there at the college to see what was going on, and eventually ended up settling to study it because I was looking for that career change as well at that time in my life. Such a life-changing time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So prior to that, what were you?
I was working in an office as a receptionist and PA.
Yeah.
And then with such a profound loss,
Yeah.
everything changes.
Yeah.
So much changes. Nothing makes sense anymore. Yeah.
Wow. So that actually brings you into that journey of homeopathy and holistic healing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. And so in your view, what was the key benefits of homeopathy medicine compared to conventional treatments?
I would say that with homeopathy, there are no side effects because we're not changing the chemical composition of the body. We're working with energy. So there are no side effects. And another plus of using homeopathy is it can treat things that are generally considered without cure from conventional medicine. You know, the symptoms that the GPs will often say they're untreatable, or they're mystery symptoms, things like that. So homeopathy can treat those.
Yeah, I think previously you shared about a story on how one of your patients has recovered through homeopathy instead of those conventional treatments. Can you share a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. So I had an 86-year-old male with asthma and chronic cough, bronchial phlegmy cough, and I treated him for that. And over the course of around 3 months, he went back to his His specialist had another scan, and the specialist told him that his lungs are in better condition now than what they were 3 months prior. And that was just an amazing feeling. And the cough had stopped, of course.
Yeah. And what did you actually do to him to make it better?
So I gave him a remedy. Called baselinum. Now, this is not for homeopathy is such an individualized system of medicine. So that's not to say that that remedy is going to work for everybody with a cough, right? But it was very suited to him, very constitutionally at the level of his wiring, which is how deep homeopathy can work. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really like a miracle.
Yeah. It seems magic, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not even like those conventional doctors and medical treatments can help him with improving his situation like that.
Well, it wasn't for him, which is why he also came to me. Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And for some of the people, they might have some misconception of homeopathy. Can you share a little bit, like what were the common misconceptions that people will be talking about in regards to this?
So often I hear that it's a placebo, and I would say that that's a misconception because I have seen homeopathy work on animals and on newborns, and those are two places where the placebo effect cannot operate.
Yeah.
So that's one.
If you don't mind me asking, what is placebo?
Oh, placebo is when it's in the mind. People think you're taking a sugar pill. There's nothing in it. You're just taking sugar, but your mind believes that it's going to work. Like it's a belief system.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than, and you don't have to believe in homeopathy for it to work. Yeah.
All right. And so because a lot of misconception of people thinking it's just your brain that was doing magic.
Correct. That's right. Yeah.
And so how do you change that misconception to these people?
You really can't change someone's belief system. They have to have the faith, I suppose, themselves. They have to want to come. Often I find patients come to me as a last resort when the disease has got them by the throat and they really are beside themselves. So then they come, and then when they see that it's something's working for them, something's shifting for them, now they're rooted in that belief of, okay, this is working. Yeah.
Is it I would say a saddening truth when people only come to homeopathy as a last resort, because they could have come much earlier?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Like that the prevention is better than the cure, right? But everybody, we're all on our own journey, and until we know, we don't know. Yeah.
Oh, but I think it's a good education process that we can put out there to
Absolutely.
encourage people to come earlier, and prevention is much better than
Absolutely.
cure, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And so I know that currently you are having your own company called Heal.
Yes.
Yeah. And so what motivated you to establish Heal?
During lockdown, I couldn't go have consultations. So I wanted to create an online presence where I could reach more people. So I could reach people nationally, globally. And I also wanted to provide products to support them on their healing journey. So, a lot of my patients have skin conditions and allergies, so they can't wear perfumes, right? They irritate, or they can't have toxic substances around the house like candles or so, because it irritates them, that might irritate the asthma or the allergies. So I also wanted to create products that would support them on their healing journey and be nice. Yeah.
And so, because you say it started after COVID or during COVID, right?
Yes.
So prior to COVID, what were you doing?
I was still doing the one-on-one consultations in a clinic, in a space.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's not of your own. The clinic was not of
It
your
was
own.
not. It was my own practice, but the space was not my own. So I had to rent the space, and people would actually physically come in. Whereas now I can see people nationally and globally because we're doing it online.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good practice, that you actually sharing your expertise and to help others globally. Through those online meetings and things like that. Yeah. Wow. And so how long has it been right now from COVID
It's
until
been
now?
2020, so it's 5 years because it was started the beginning 2020, so
Five
it's
years
going on
now.
to 5 years.
Yeah. Wow. And how do you see the relationship between mental and physical health in context of homeopathy?
Ah, this is such an interesting question. This is a really interesting topic. Mind and body connection is alive and well. And for me and my colleagues in homeopathy, we see this expresses when a patient is oversensitive physically, they
Mhm.
will also be oversensitive mentally, and that expresses as overly anxious and stressed.
Okay. But
Does
is
that
that
make sense?
something that generate from your mind itself?
From my mind, well, these are these are documented. I collaborate with a group of homeopaths globally
Mm-hmm.
online,
Yeah.
and everybody's case is documented. So
Okay.
it's confidentiality. But the case is documented. So people that do have sensitivities physically
Mm-hmm.
are found to also have a high sensitivity mentally.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I do. And so how does homeopathy actually help with that sense since they are overly sensitive in both mentally and physically?
It's interesting because there are remedies that are given for certain physical conditions,
Mm-hmm.
and interestingly enough, that same remedy is also prescribed for people with the mental symptom of, for example, the mental symptom of guilt. We give a remedy
Mm-hmm.
called arnica, and that same remedy is given to people that have accidents and injuries. And
Okay.
often we find that when the symptoms of guilt have settled,
Mm-hmm.
the accidents stop happening.
Wow,
It's
that's
really interesting. Yeah, I hope
wow.
I've explained it properly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it feels like a cycle to me, right? Because you have to kind of trigger the root cause, right?
100%.
Yeah, from mentally, and then it affects everything else that comes after.
100%. 100%
Yeah.
correct. Otherwise, the cycle, the pattern keeps happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the mind body connection.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really interesting. And so, other than that, is there any, for example, like previously we mentioned a lot about prevention. So is there any things that we can do in terms of prevention aspect, to help the mind body connection?
Um, we can, I mean, often a lot of people use prevention as in they will clear the home of the toxic substances.
Uh,
They will eat I mean, diet and nutrition is profound. Um, so they will not consume
mhm.
products that are going to create aggravations. So there's that. And it really is a lifestyle choice. And
Mm,
just being mindful and knowledgeable about what is toxic around our environment. What are we consuming? It could be through food, it could be through perfumes, it could be through something in the home.
yeah.
Like it could be through the soil
Mm,
that we're putting in our hands in the garden.
yeah.
So really
Mm,
understanding
yeah.
everything that's around us.
I really like the food part where you mentioned that, oh, you need to understand what was the nutrient and what benefits are they giving them to your body, and then you
Yes.
want to prevent those toxic materials.
Correct. So
Yeah.
you might be looking to reduce alcohol, sugar, and bread and processed foods. They're quite big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so would what you do in homeopathy be related to nutritional advice as well?
Yes, sometimes yes, because malnutrition is an obstacle to cure.
Mm-hmm.
So yes,
Yep.
it's. But however, I often say to my patients, it's a core fundamental. It is very important. However, you can be eating like right. You can have the cleanest diet. You
Mm-hmm.
can do your yoga. You can drink your water. You can eat your fruit and veg. But if you're not dealing with the stuff in your heart and in your mind, then you're not healthy either. So that's where
Okay.
homeopathy comes in.
Okay.
You do
To
need.
do the balance between both
Yes,
mentally and
yes, yeah.
physically. So it's not only about the food, but
It's not only
yeah.
about the food,
Wow.
exactly. It's really is holistic, and it's when you get into it, you realize like what a life changing. thing it is. It's quite it's not for the faint-hearted. It is quite, it will change your life. Yeah.
Wow. If you don't mind me adding in, because I know that this is not in the questions that I provide.
That's okay.
Um, for example, during your consultation process, do you give like mental advice as well, like how is it for them to be more healthy in mentally themselves?
I won't give advice because I don't know what's best for you.
Mm.
I haven't lived what you've lived. I don't know what's best for you. I treat the symptoms
Mm-hmm.
that are in front of me. That includes mental symptoms and physical symptoms. And interestingly enough, when you take the remedy is what gives you the answers. The remedy is what gives you the relief of the
Okay.
mental symptom. It
Mm-hmm.
might be anxiety, right?
Yep.
The remedy will do that. Yeah,
Mm.
so I'm not the guru that tells you what you've got to do.
Yeah.
No.
But it's more on the how they should eat and things like that,
I,
right?
I will give advice on
Uh-huh.
nutrition, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yep.
if
And
it's needed.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then you will also provide another kind of homeopathy medication
Yes, I
for
will.
them.
And the process of that is understanding the patient holistically.
Mhm.
So I need to get a whole heap of information. I need to know your history, your medical history, your family's history and medical history.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of information that we need to get first.
Uh-huh.
Then I need to know your likes and your dislikes, your preferences.
Mhm.
How are you wired? Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we prescribe holistically. So mind, body, spirit, we prescribe with all that information.
Wow, that's a lot of information that you need to collect
Yeah,
before
it
prescribing
it
something.
is. Yeah, there's a lot involved.
And how extensive will that be? Because you mentioned about like family history and all sort of things. Do you even do like probably a DNA test or things like that?
We don't. No, I
No?
don't. I don't
Okay.
do a DNA test,
Yep.
but the initial consultation will be probably an hour and a half.
Oh,
You would
okay.
need that time to collect all of that information
Yeah.
and then give the remedy. So no DNA tests. Occasionally there may be a hair analysis,
Oh,
and
okay.
so that'll tell me levels of elements in the body,
Mm-hmm.
which is important as well. But
Yep.
we won't do that right off the bat.
Uh,
Yeah, unless it's needed.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah.
really interesting. It give me a lot more clarity in terms of what homeopathy does and
Yeah, okay, great.
during the consultation process. Because to be honest, before I know you, I didn't know about this
Okay.
term even for
Wow.
homeopathy.
Yeah.
And it was my first time hearing that when knowing you. And yeah, it was a really interesting topic for me.
Oh, I'm
Mm,
glad.
yeah.
That's really good to know.
And also because for my mom, for my mom, so she has like a slight diabetes. So we were also trying to like consume natural food to try to heal her situation or
Yeah.
not to deteriorate her situation. So we were like going on keto diet and things like that, trying to reduce carbs. So I'm not sure if this is something that is kind of related to homeopathy, but I doubt.
Yeah, it is related,
Mm-hmm.
and I would obviously need to see her and
Yeah.
individualize her case.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, yes, a diet is 100% involved
Mm-hmm.
and helpful in diabetic cases. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow,
yeah,
that's good to know.
yeah.
I'll bring that offline.
Okay.
Yeah, and just some advice for newcomer. If for someone that is considering homeopathy for the first time, what advice would you give them to start on their healing journey?
Oh, I would say find someone who you connect in with very deeply and you
Mm-hmm.
feel safe with, because it's an energetic medicine. And from my experience, when someone feels safe, they feel seen, heard, held in the space, respected,
Mm-hmm.
the healing transmission is incredible. And healing can occur with or without a remedy. The important thing is to be connected in with that person and feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so from what you're saying, it's they need people that support them during the entire process.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, often my own experience with my homeopath, we will be in consultation and I just feel so safe and seen and
Mm.
heard with her. And often I'll leave the consultation and think, what remedy did she tell me to take? Like, I mean, I don't even know if I need one because I know I feel great and I feel better now than I did than when I came in.
Yeah.
So that's that healing transmission that goes on between healer and patient when you feel safe, connected, seen, heard. Yeah. It's probably not going to happen all the time. I mean, I've been in this for 20 years, so it's not lost on me that it does happen.
Yeah.
If you're just starting out, you may not notice that right away.
Yeah.
But my advice would be to definitely choose someone that you connect in with and feel safe with. Yes.
And be open enough to be vulnerable.
100%.
Yeah.
That's it.
Wow. And I do know that you have your #1 bestseller on Amazon,
Yes.
Healed by Josephine.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit on what is that book about?
So that book, it has homeopathic remedies in there. It has a chapter on nutrition, and it displays and explains my range of products. And it really is for the beginner, maybe like you, Esty, who hadn't heard of homeopathy but is interested. So you might say, oh, okay, it's an introduction, an educational introduction really, but displayed really nicely, beautiful graphics and pictures. So you could kind of keep it on your coffee table. Yeah.
And so after reading that book, will I be able to start homeopathy myself, or do I still need a consultation from an expert?
You would need a consultation from an expert. Yeah.
And that is just to provide a foundational knowledge of
That's
homeopathy.
right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I wanted to do that because I realized that a lot of people don't know what it is.
Yeah.
They may have dabbled in it. They may have heard of it before. They may have dabbled in some first aid remedies but they really don't know the profoundness and the depth. So that's what I wanted to share in writing the book.
Yeah, that's good. And that book was being published in
last year, 2023, December 20. So nearly a year, nearly coming up to my 1 year anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Will there be any like a special or celebration for the 1 year anniversary of the book?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've already put on a promotion that's some great prices there.
Wow.
So yeah. So yes, and we might have a little morning tea.
Yeah. Oh, with you?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Wow, that's exciting. And also because it's in December, it's a great Christmas present.
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah, and for New Year's as well. Like if someone that received the book, they can be, new year, new me.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah, and starting homeopathy and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. And all right, I think we have pretty much covered everything. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Unshakable Growth podcast. I hope that this conversation with Josephine is as inspiring as I did, and her insights into homeopathy and the power of personal healing reminds us that growth often comes along with our most challenging experience. So if you are interested to exploring more about homeopathy or Josephine's work, be sure to check out her book, Heal by Josephine, and visit Heal website for more resources, which I'll be sharing the links in the description below. So don't forget to subscribe the podcast for more stories and strategies on personal growth. Until next time, keep striving for your own unshakable growth.
Thank you, Esty.
Thank you. Welcome to the Unshakable Growth. I'm Esty, and let's get started.